Redditors. What's your opinion on adding a class that teaches middle and high school students about living and surviving in general, such as relationships, self-defense, cooking simple meals, basic budgeting and taking care of physical and mental health? Submitted by nontemper. People I went to school say this all the time. But we did have classes like this. No one paid attention and wanted to goof off. I'm a school counselor now at a middle school and I teach coping skills, stress management, etc. and it's hard to get students to take it seriously. Edit. Personal safety, sex education, and drug prevention, too. My school had this, for the most part, home economics for cooking, finance for finances, health and/or physical ed for mental and physical health. Psychology can teach you a lot about relationships. We had taekwondo, hapkido, and wrestling to teach self-defense. Not that those are the best choices, but at least it's another form of exercise. I feel like I remember taking a class in middle school that kind of taught me some of these basics, like how to balance a checkbook and other stuff. Are these things not taught anymore? This was in Wisconsin in the early 90s. Edit. I guess it was all lumped into home economics, as other Redditors are saying. With all the classes people believe scholars need, we will have to get a 37-HA-day schedule. As a chef by trade, I'm a big believer in teaching kids to cook. I come from a broken home and learning to cook saved my pathetic life. I still remember my first hospitality class in high school. Reddit. How would you feel about these types of questions being banned from this sub? They will ignore it and call it useless. Because, no matter what adults are trying to teach high schoolers, they will think they know better. Aha. Did they get rid of home EC or something? My school had electives on cooking and personal finance. Psychology basically teaches you how people talk to each other. If you pay attention and apply what you learn. Some kids don't want to learn. We know that from No Child Left Behind. Good idea. Very well reasoned out by very smart people. Total failure. Honestly, this shit would probably sort itself out with smaller classrooms, better teachers, and more individual care with students. Dumping people into 500+ classes leads to solving general problems, not specific problems like, if you're a teacher trying to keep track of 90 little gremlins all the time, you're having a good day if no one beats up anyone else. You probably don't care that much about what they're learning so long as no one's doing coke in the locker room, because those problems are bigger and more immediate. More teachers and more classrooms cost more than just adding a certain kind of class. But kids learn more when they have to focus on less things, and have adults who actually care about them outside of family life. This should be done by parents. It's not the school's job to teach you those stuff. School pressure is already very heavy for kids, so don't give them more classes. If you really want change, you should focus on parents not doing it. Removed. I hate this type of AskReddit question with a passion. Hey Reddit, what do you guys think of this 100% positive idea that is talked about every single day and has no negative drawbacks? Can I have some gold? Quote. I'm all for it. Wish I would have had a class like that growing up. BC. My mom, single-parent family, didn't know much about this stuff. Learned what I know sorta on my own and by observing others. In high school I took a class on car care. I learned how to change a tire, jump start a car, check and add fluids, and even how to change my oil. I have used what I learned in this class more than anything I learned in my history classes. We have a lot of this in the British curriculum already. You live in America or something. This already exists to a certain extent. We did food and nutrition classes. PSE. Budgeting was part of a practical maths course if I remember right. Self-defense classes could be taken at lunchtime. more for learning martial arts, etc. But same idea. They had school counselors who were very open and understanding for mental health issues. It would get forgotten or outdated by adulthood, so wasn't really that crucial. It also isn't really the role of school, as they aren't academic subjects as such. That's parenting. Seeing as how my middle schooler cut carrots, made instant pudding, and pancakes, and the rest of his home EC class for an entire quarter was worksheets, I assume the school would find some way to fuck that up. I think it would be great to have classes that involve budgeting, cooking, self-care, life skills, i.e. changing a tire. However, I also think that some of that responsibility is on the parents. Although I know there are many kids with poor role models. I honestly think every middle school student should have a dialectical behavioral therapy class. Imagine how much better everyone would be if kids learned coping skills and had the ability to better regulate their emotions. I think everything else would kinda fall into place after that. We already have this in the UK. Where I went to school, we called it enrichment. And we chose 6 topics, i.e. cooking, PSHE, or social studies, to do for a half-term this year. I wish my Canadian province's school curriculum has this. This would have been more beneficial than many other things I had to learn but I never use in my life and job. They need one because I'm a senior and I don't know shit on how to adult. I'd be all for it. When I first started my adult life after I finished school, I had no fucking clue what I was doing. Needs to be a thing. I quit teaching this past year, and during the last 2 weeks of school, this is the kind of thing I taught my kids. The education system in the US is utter garbage. My school had a basic civics finance class that we took for one summer. Private school. My HS also had home EC, but they discontinued it like in 2000. Before I got to H's, I do feel schools should implement this somehow. Even if it's a summer program or something. First and foremost, of course, it's a parent's responsibility, but I do think it should be put back. Especially physical fitness. I can't believe this is being taken out of schools. Self-defense would be great. I would be fine if school curriculums, instead of requiring PE every year, required one life skills course every year, including a health class on how the human body works, and how different exercises benefit people, etc. I think especially for teenagers, a social class would be really helpful. What sort of value relationships bring to a person's life, and how to identify when relationships aren't valuable to you, romantic or otherwise. I'm not sure just a class would be helpful for budgeting, as it's really a lifestyle. A way of thinking you have to learn. Don't spend all my money on candy or books or video games or insert hobby here, because I have to pay for my house and my meals and my gas. Maybe if there was a point system, you earn points based on your academic grades. Parents signed study forms to verify you spent time studying at home, volunteering, etc., to simulate earning an income. And every week, the school deducted X points to simulate bills. And you could use points to buy school merch, or a pencil if you forgot one, or extra snacks, or something. So the ratio of points earned to points deducted wouldn't be exorbitant. But it would be enough that students had to budget their point usage, save it up, etc. Parents can do this as well, with contractor-like jobs. So you earn $5 for cleaning the bathroom mirror, the toilet and the counter, on top of normal clean your room chores, and then collect a weekly rent or something. I've heard of parents who put the rent they collected into a savings account for their kid. So when they are adults, they have a nice little starter for college, a car, etc. But kids definitely need some way to learn the mindset behind careful budgeting. That one bit me when I struck out on my own. It took me more than half a decade to really make the switch from a dependent who never had dollar problems at home to married with bills and debt and wasn't careful with funds. I always think that basic home auto maintenance should also be on this list. Things like how to maintain a lawn mower, change a furnace filter, basic plumbing, patching a drywall hole. There is so much that a person could do on their own and save some money instead of calling someone to do it. All of this shit should be available, and I would add introductory trade courses in high school for things like carpentry, plumbing, landscaping, property management. Basically things a high school graduate could do to make a basic living and potentially a larger career or business in the future. Some places have woodworking and auto and such, but there could be more. I worked one remodeling during one summer of high school, and that was just as valuable to me as all of high school, honestly. The fact it still isn't implemented is insane and just shows how fucking pathetic the human race is, and wants to capitalize on others fucking up. Meteor is long overdue. I think they need to offer this, and maybe even politics or some form of basic law. The bad thing is the school system is always broken. They expect your parents to teach you most of this. If not a class, at least a 1 or 2 day seminar. Maybe people that offer classes like this can get a tax write-off for making them free to high school students. An absolute necessity. We should have started yesterday. These things need to be taught at a much younger level. We teach the same things over and over again in elementary with very small step in between to grow their knowledge. Why not make their quarters have completely different classes? The big ones like math have twice a year, and mental health also. Cooking 1 quarter. Have budgeting and time management on the off times from math, which technically would still involve math but in more real-world scenarios. Also teach learning techniques very early on. 1st through 4th at the very least. This way by the time they get to middle and high school they have these habits as a part of themselves already. I love this idea. Need it, want it, gotta have it. I am a teacher, and these are all things that need to be taught to today's youth. However, outside of arguably self-defense, the rest of that list is supposed to be parents or even the entire community's job. You can't dump more and more on educators and expect it to come out well. A better solution would be to increase wages so that 2 full-time workers are not necessary to maintaining a comfortable living situation for most families. This way one or both parents could focus on parenting more instead of coming home for a couple of hours before kids' bedtime. I'll also add that classrooms are sterile environments in those regards, due to class sizes, amount of material to cover, etc. You learn mostly facts and some applications, but you don't get to use that knowledge as much as you should outside of class. If you want your child to cook, let them cook with you. Even give them a night or 2 a week where dinner is their job. You want them to budget, then be completely open about your money, and have them sit in on budget discussions. If mature enough, you might even give them a say if you have the freedom to. If you want to teach them how to cope with stress and other factors that make life hard, then let them see how you cope. Kids will copy what they see 1,000 times more than anything I say in a classroom anyway.